So I wanted to talk to you today about Ocado, because the more I dig deeper into this company, the more I'm kind of falling in love with it. Because there's something that the company doesn't really talk about. But when I kind of found out about it and the more I looked into it, the more it really started ticking some boxes for me. And I really think this is going to be something that's going to really elevate the company to a whole new level, even above that level that I was expecting it to get to anyway. So first of all, I just want to break the company down into three different sections. First of all, we've got the online e-commerce website, which is Ocado Retail. Then we have the warehouse fulfillment services, the robotics, the international partnerships, and everything else that goes within the Ocado group of the warehouse fulfillment services that Ocado offers. And then next we've got the question mark section, and that's the bit that I'll talk about at the end. Now, most people will think of Ocado.com as this e-commerce supermarket, an online supermarket, and that's the main part of the business that people think about. So let's dig into that first. Now, with only a very small market share of 1.7% of the UK grocery market, Ocado is a very minor player, and yet it has a market cap similar to the largest player, which is Tesco's. They both have market caps in the early £20 billion area. Now, it is clear that Ocado has plenty of room for expansion in the UK. However, it is becoming a more crowded place. So what are they doing about it? When they launched, they did it in partnership with Waitrose. As the business grew, they also partnered with Morrisons and became a fulfillment partner for Morrisons. However, then, in 2019, disaster struck in Andover, and a fire destroyed one of Ocado's warehouses. Restricted on space, Ocado was forced to relax rules with Morrisons, allowing Morrisons to partner with other retailers such as Amazon, and at the same time this freed up space for Ocado to use their own fulfillment and growth. And just as they're picking themselves up from that and expanding on their capacity, the global pandemic hits, and obviously then demand goes through the roof even more. Now, with such high demand and not enough capacity, Ocado Retail is then forced to stop accepting new customers. This lasts for a couple of months while the required expansion is being built. Multiple expansion projects are still underway throughout England, and this includes expanding Ocado Zoom, which is only for central London, but provides delivery within 1 hour. Now, that sounds fairly promising, right? So last year, the deal with Waitrose expired. Ocado Retail then formed a partnership with M&S and sold 50% of the Ocado Retail business to M&S. Wait, what? This sounds bad, right? But actually, it's really a good thing. You see, now the growth of Ocado.com is not just on the shoulders of Ocado, but also M&S. Both need to work together to promote and grow the business. But on the flip side of that, Ocado Retail is using Ocado Group's Custom Fulfillment Centres, or CFC, which means the more the group grows and the more customers it gets, the more it pays Ocado Group in fees. So in a way, this was a win-win for Ocado Group, because the more the website gains and the more popular the website gets, Ocado gets half of that revenue and profit from that business on top of their existing fees that they're getting as the business grows anyway. So that brings me to the main area of the business and where all the revenue growth is going to come from. Now, the main value of Ocado is in its robotics and AI fulfillment systems. These smart systems allow supermarkets to deal with customer orders as efficiently as possible. The Ocado Retail business was really more of proof of concept for the business, and really is now more of a testing arm that allows Ocado to learn, develop, and perfect its systems before rolling them out to its international partners. Okay, I hear you. So how does this Ocado thing actually work? So here's what Ocado does. They go to a country, let's say the USA for example, and they go to all of the supermarkets individually. And what they say is, we've got this amazing fulfillment services sort of package, and you're going to partner with us for us to fulfill all your orders with our fulfillment centres. And when we do that, you're going to pay us based on the amount of orders that you process. So as your online orders grow, you're going to pay us more money. Now, obviously, the reply back from that, of all these supermarkets, is going to be, why the hell would we do that? Why am we're just going to make our own systems? It will be so much cheaper for us in the long run because, you know, we'll own the systems, it will be ours, and we won't have to pay you for it. And now here's the clever part. Because what Ocado do is they say, that's fine, you go away and you build your own systems. Take you a few years, loads of money in R&D, but while you're doing that, we're going to go to one of your competitors and we're going to partner with them exclusively. They're then going to have our warehouse and our system pretty much set up straight away. This is going to mean that they're going to be saving a lot of money in costs and running costs, so they'll be able to bring their prices down. They'll also be far more efficient and going to have less problems with the customer's errors. So this is going to provide a much better customer experience for their customers, which means in that time that you're spending developing your systems, your competitors are going to be stealing your market share. Now, obviously, you can imagine what kind of reaction that's going to get from all these supermarkets. They're then going to start clamouring over each other to be the people that sign the exclusive deal with Ocado. Meaning Ocado then gets to pick the best company for them. Now, for me, like I say, that when I first heard it, it was like they're doing exclusive deals with each country with only one supermarket. Why would you do that? You want to try and get to all of them. And then I realised, obviously, if you do that, you're not going to get a very high rate. And also, it's going to be quite hard to really kind of tie a business into a proper partnership and make sure they don't just kind of like use you and then dump you and replace you with their own systems once they get up and running. So partnering in this way means that they can really kind of get their claws into an existing business, grow it massively, and then that business will become reliant on Ocado. Meanwhile, at the same time, Ocado can then make its own decisions once that kind of partnership expires on whether they want to continue it as an exclusive deal or whether they then start to then partner out to all the other supermarkets as well and really expand its base. So really, really smart business model for starting the business and for growing into all the separate countries. And it's clearly worked very, very well from the fact that they've got 9 partnerships with global supermarkets already. The fact that they've already got the USA, Canada, Australia, Japan, France. And when you look at all these supermarkets, they're all really strong brands and many of them are still have really strong growth. And this is really, really important because you need to remember that Ocado gets paid depending on the volume. So the more successful the company, the more they pay Ocado. So if they're getting into a growing company, then that just means more opportunities for Ocado as the company grows. And to give you an idea, these partners have a combined revenue of £210 billion. So depending on the penetration level of online shopping in these countries, that could mean fees paid to Ocado of anywhere between 3.5 and 26.3 billion pounds. But when you realise this is for all those global partners together, now consider that Walmart, their revenue is $524 billion. Now obviously you've got dollars to pounds kind of swap over there, but you can see how much bigger Walmart is compared to all of these together. So that just proves the size of the potential market and the opportunities that are there for growth for Ocado. And Ocado also has a number of stakes in or ownership of robotics companies. And it continues to innovate and grow these robotics to try to automate the fulfillment centres as much as possible. Now, I do not think it's a stretch to see them moving outside of supermarkets once they've started to saturate the market, and being able to also run non-grocery fulfillment centres as well. Now, in the internet age where data is so valuable, you want to think of the value of a company that has supermarkets all around the world, dealing with global customers in all these major developed economies. The data that they're going to be getting from all of these different partners is immense. And you've got to think of the strategic edge that that's going to give Ocado going forward in the future. When you kind of think of the data that's going to be coming through, it's really going to tell Ocado where there's gaps, where things need to be improved, where there's fundamental issues in the various different countries, and what Ocado could be doing to kind of bridge those gaps, and where they'll be able to add on extra services. And that brings me on quite nicely to my third mystery segment. And if you already know a lot about Ocado, you might have already guessed this, but it's vertical farming. Now, vertical farming is going to be really big in the future. Well, it has to be really big in the future, because over the next 35 to 40 years, we're going to need more food than we have done over the past 10,000 years combined. Not only is this going to be really hard when it comes to land resources, but also water resource. Farmland uses so much water, but because there is no or very little waste with vertical farming, and it's so efficient that you use a fraction of the water that you would need in farmland. You use a fraction of the fertiliser, you use no chemical pesticides, and you can grow 350 times the amount of food per square metre than you could in a farm. Not only that, but you can do it anywhere. So not only do we have this from a financial aspect of getting incredibly cost-effective food with being placed in the most cost-effective area, so right next to your fulfillment centres and right in the middle of cities or just on the outskirts of cities, or even in places like Dubai, where you're not going to have farmland, you're going to be able to stick these down and still grow fresh fruit and vegetables. But you also need to think about this from a humanitarian angle as well, where containers could have these and they could be deployed in areas with little or no food, or when you have like droughts and all of the food gets destroyed, bring one of these containers in, dump it down, and you're feeding all these people that wouldn't have had food without it. Now, one of the main reasons that these are not mainstream at the moment is due to the cost element. However, with the cost of renewable energy dropping so much, and also the fact that there's so many more vertical farms being built now, so many companies that are developing this technology, that it's causing the cost of the resources needed to build these farms to drop as well. Which means that we're starting to get down to that price parity of it being a viable price option as well as all the other elements. So we have a system where we can make the amount of food that we want. We have a system that we can have the food made when we want it rather than having to kind of go by seasons. We have a system that is always going to have the same number of plants and the same number of the same quality as well. So it's a kind of perfect system in that regard, except from the fact that at the moment we're actually really limited on what can be grown in this way. And there's lots of issues, like so for example with pollination, or that some fruits and vegetables need sort of like certain weather conditions and they need to vary. So there's lots of kind of complicated elements that are still kind of holding some things back at the moment. So it's still very limited fruit and there's very limited vegetables that can be made at the moment. But we're getting there, and it is moving along. Now there's lots of companies doing this. So why is it so important for Ocado, and why is it going to be such a boon financially for Ocado? Well, let's think of it this way. If you're Kroger, for example, and vertical farming has started to come into the price parity range and it's a viable option for you, are you going to go to random vertical farm A that is able to get the greens created for you and sent over to you? Or are you going to go with a option from Ocado where they're going to be able to bolt on a warehouse to the side of your fulfillment centre, put the robots all to work together and just make one big seamless system? I think we all know what that answer is going to be. And obviously Ocado already has this ginormous network of companies that it's already partnered with. So we already have so much potential for Ocado to then sort of start flipping these centres all over the place globally. So there's just so many options here. Now, Ocado have made a couple of partnerships here. They have a majority stake, that's over 50%, in Jones Food, which is an existing vertical farm company in Scunthorpe. They've also bought into a company called Infinity Acres to partner with two other companies that will be able to combine all of their experience. The important part that Ocado brings to this is the robotics and the AI systems. The other companies, the other partners, one has expertise on providing industrial systems and the other is currently running vertical farms. So we have all the elements to complete the business and make it a roaring success. An Ocado Group plans to have products grown from vertical farms being sold by Ocado Retail later this year. So we've got the potential start of this is going to be coming very, very soon. So that's my reasoning. What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you've hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.